And this is Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Guys, I know a lot of you have been joining me over and over and over again. Certainly appreciate that. And I love talking about this topic. So I'm going to get busy tonight. I'll wait probably about a minute before, so people can get in here before I start. So uh, I just want to remind you, if you come on, say you're listening now, and you want to subscribe, go ahead and do that. Now, if you want to drop a comment, yeah, go ahead and do that too. Let me know where you're watching from. That's always great to hear. Sometimes I'm wondering how far reaching this audience really is. So I appreciate all the support that you've given me. We passed 500 subscribers, and maybe for some people that doesn't seem like a lot, but it seems like the subscribers I have are real true baseball fans, and I love that more than anything. However, I'd like to get more subscribers if I could. So anyway, we're going to keep on doing this, and I'll keep on making that appeal to you. And in the meanwhile, I'll keep giving you history like you don't get anywhere else. All right. So I'm a person who's been conducting African American baseball research for this is actually my 42nd year. So you can imagine that I was in my 20s when I started seriously going after this history and going after Black history topics and being involved not only in baseball, the changes that have come in baseball, but also the changes that have come in just everyday life. As a young person, I went out and met Stokely Carmichael and marched with Ralph Abernathy, and I met a lot of movers and shakers. As a young guy in my 20s, one of the most influential was a guy by the name of Lou Palmer out of Chicago, Illinois. You might look up Lou on YouTube. Interesting guy, somebody who really motivated me and changed my life. And then I met Mr. Marthel in Topeka, Kansas, 1980. He was a former Negro League player. My life got changed again. So, guys, it's been one evolution after another, but I'm here today, 40 some odd years later, still talking about baseball. So let's go here and let's get started. So my first fact I want to give you for January 22nd comes from 1908. And in an article that appeared in the Wilkes-Barre Times Leader and Evening News, that's a newspaper, Turkey Mike Donnelly went on record saying Andrew Rube Foster is the equal of Mordecai Three Fingers Brown and the Big Train Christy Mathewson. And how about that? He said that in an article. And this is a guy that had faced Rube Foster on numerous occasions when Rube Foster was with the Philadelphia Giants. And of course, there's some legendary things I've written about in 1907 when they had the big city series in Chicago, and Turkey Mike Donlin, who was actually out on strike because he wasn't getting the money. And so he was kind of out there thinking about if he wanted to go into an acting career or either continue to play baseball. So he picked up and played a few games against Rube Foster's team, and Rube Foster ate his lunch. So Turkey Mike Donlin in 1908 made that statement, and believe me, he knew what he was talking about. But look how all these years that passed. Rube Foster doesn't get the recognition. He passed away in 1930. And finally, I think it was 1980, he was put into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But I remember talking to Doris Foster, and his son had just passed away shortly before I got to them. And she was telling me about the fight they had and how they had to struggle to find information to get Rube Foster in the Hall of Fame. Wasn't a lot of support back in 1980. Wasn't a lot of guys out there doing work. And so they had to pull a lot of articles. But if all things considered, Rube Foster should have been the first one to go in the Hall of Fame. He should have beat Jackie Robinson. He should have beat Roy Campanella and Satchel Paige. All those guys went in before him, and many others, right? Okay, so that's Andrew Rube Foster. We have an eyewitness telling you that this guy was great. One of these days, you're going to believe him. You don't have to believe me, but you can believe Turkey Mike Donlin, right? You can believe him, but you might not believe me. All right, then. We're going to go to another one here. This one is January 22nd, 1917. And this was in an article subtitled, Greatest Players Have Been Denied Major League Uniforms. All right, we're staying with this integration tonight. The writer, Billy Fritz, announced that two named specifically, and they were William Lane and Chet Boost, I guess Bost, Boost. So of Lane, he said that he is a letter carrier in Los Angeles. So this guy couldn't make it in baseball. He had to become a mailman. How about that? And so he's working in Los Angeles. And John McGraw, and this is what Fitch said. He had interviewed John McGraw. He said he would have given $50,000 for him if the boy had been born white instead of black. Man, that's a damn shame, isn't it? So basically, people are thinking they're seeing the baseball players in the world, and they were not. It was all a false concept. You were seeing the best white players that they could get, and it wasn't always the best white players, because you had guys sitting in the Pacific Coast League, the Eastern League, the American Association, that were every bit as good as those guys who were in the American National League. Some of those players were making more money in those other leagues, and they just didn't want to switch. How about that? So anyway, this is the history. So that was a guy, and his name was William Lane. And William Lane, let's see, he had played for the Chicago American Giants, played out on the West Coast and things like that. And then he mentioned Bost, B-O-S-T. And he said that, let's see, he said, oh, okay. Well, first of all, he said Lane had played high school ball with a guy by the name of Zeb Terry, who ended up playing 7 seasons in the National and American League from 1916, 1922 for 4 different teams. And of Bost, he said he could hold down a high salary job right now if it was permissible. And so this guy was still good. How many people have ever heard of any of these 2 players, right? But they're talking about these guys were great players. And I know people used to come up to me and they say, hey, look, it's too bad Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson didn't get a chance to play in the American or National League. And I would just look at them like they were crazy, because that's like saying, okay, it's too, say if you take modern baseball, it's too bad Hank Aaron and Willie Mays didn't get a chance to play, which they did. But if you want to use them as example, think of all the other great players who established records that were playing during that same time. So you didn't have to just point to Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson. There were hundreds, literally hundreds of good ball players. And that's my whole statement that I need to make to you. Now, let me comment to some of these things that are coming in. Somebody says, I hate the Bears. I don't know how that got in here. So hopefully you're talking about the bad news Bears, okay? They said, greetings from frigid Minnesota. Yeah, keep it up there. But unfortunately, it's coming to Kansas City tomorrow. And we're going to be 10 degrees and lower over the weekend. Supposed to get some snow. Somebody said hello there. And then somebody says, my name is Lane. Hey, you might want to look up this ball player. Who knows? You might be kin to him. You just never know. And so, yeah, let me know where you're listening from, guys. That's always fun. So I think we've got one from Minnesota. And I think, have you listened to me before? I get people commenting from Minnesota quite frequently. And Minnesota is a good baseball state. And I haven't been there lately. But hopefully I can come back again and give one of my presentations. I would tell you that I receive routinely standing ovations for my routine, my talks on baseball, because I'm coming with poetry and history, and it's quite a bit different from what I'm doing here. And I also bring my trumpet along. People are amazed that I can play trumpet at a very high level. So anyway, so I look forward to it. Okay, hey, maybe we'll meet somewhere down the line, and I have to shake your hand and say thanks for your support, and keep on encouraging you to keep on following this wonderful game we call baseball, right? And I remember, matter of fact, he said this. I was speaking in the Twin Cities, and Double Duty Ratcliffe was there, and he was on the program speaking before me. And Double Duty Ratcliffe came out and said, Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe was his name. He said, if God made something better than a woman in baseball, he kept it to himself. So that was Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe. All right, let's keep it going here. So January 22nd, 1927, Miss Sarah Foster, reporting on her husband, Rube Foster's health, stated her husband was improving so much that he expects to become active in league affairs next season. That was 1927, and of course, he never really fully recovered. And he passed away in 1930. I think I just mentioned that. So, yeah, a lot of people are optimistic that Rube Foster could bounce back. I tell you, probably the greatest account on what happened to Rube Foster appears in an unpublished manuscript by George Sweat, who was he was rooming in the apartment that Rube Foster had there, and actually there were two ball players that were rooming in there. And so Sweat, who was from Kansas, and I actually have that unpublished manuscript and read through it. And I actually interviewed George Sweat too. So, but he had a firsthand account, and he gives a wonderful description of what happened to Rube Foster when he had the nervous breakdown. I will also say this too, that I was good friends with Doris Foster, and we had many conversations about it too. And she was married to his son Earl, and then also Rube had a sister. And the sister and her husband used to go down to visit Rube, and the sister's husband would drive Sarah down. And so he had lots to say about what he had saw as well. So you're probably listening to the one person who actually got accounts from people who actually saw Rube during the sickness. How about that? He passed away in Kankakee, Illinois. So that's Andrew Rube Foster, all right? So let's go to another fact here. How about this one? This one is January 22nd, 1942, Hall of Fame catcher Louis Santop Lofton, a star catcher for the 1910, I took you way back, 1910 Oklahoma Monarchs and the 1911 Lincoln Giants of New York, died in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at age 52. And let's see, he was born January 17th, 1890 in Tyler, Texas. And that was a great catcher, Louis Lofton Santop. So he was a great player. And today he is in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Didn't know if you knew that. Somebody says, Bob Toyd in there. Hey, Bob, greetings from Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Man, I bet you're not catching the weather we're catching out here in the Midwest. I may have time to do more broadcasts because I might not be able to go out on Saturday. So maybe I'll come in and pick a couple of players and give you some highlights from interviews that I've had with players. And how about this? I interviewed over 500 people who were ball players and their families as well. Somebody said Louis Santop had a great scrapbook. He did. He did. And I think it ended up in Cooperstown, if I'm correct. But he played a lot of ball. I picked Santop up in my book, the 1910 Chicago Leland Giants, when he came to Chicago for the first time with the Oklahoma Monarchs. And most people have never heard of Oklahoma Monarchs. So it's a lot of good baseball out there, a lot of teams, a lot of people who typically don't get any coverage whatsoever. And so that is the story on Louis Santop. All right, let's keep it going here. How about this one? January 22nd, 1952. Barney Sorrell, former Kansas City Monarchs infielder, age 29, is arrested and held in Dallas, Texas for violation of the Selective Service Act. Hey, he wanted to play baseball instead of going to war, so he just kind of hid away. And yep, they found him and arrested him. How about that? Somebody says, I love listening to your videos and learning about the Negro Leagues. And let's see, thank you for your love. Thank you. Yes, wait a minute. He said, thank you. I love learning about the history of baseball. All right, appreciate that. Well, one thing about it, this is almost like a class. And I'm giving you experiences that I had. And here's a good example. Barney Sorrell, now he has a son that lives in Kansas City. And I talk to him all the time. He has a son right here in Kansas City today. And most people don't know about these extended families and relatives, but when you live around Kansas City and you know a lot of people, you'll be surprised who you meet. So I don't think he's ever been at any event at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, but his son is definitely here right now in Kansas City, actually Kansas City, Kansas. So, but yeah, so Barney Surreal. And what else I want to say about this? Oh, let's see. I had something in my mind I was thinking about related to the selective service. Uh, well, I just let it go. But there were a lot of guys who went to the military and lost a chunk out of their career. And Barney ended up going to Mexico and living there. And so, some great history. Barney Sorrell was a great player. He kind of came through the Monarch system with the 1939, 38 team. And I mentioned it before. I have the scrapbook that was given to me by Newt Joseph's widow. And I have some great just Polaroid prints, just camera prints that were just taken. These aren't studio prints. They're not professional prints. It's somebody with a camera taking pictures of the Monarch second team. Have some great pictures. People like Jack Marshall was on that team. Now, that's not the old Jack Marshall who was around with Rube Foster. This is the later Jack Marshall who was around in 1938 and who became a professional bowler. How about that? He was a great bowler, by the way. Look it up. You don't have to take my words from this. When I actually interviewed Jack Marshall, we talked more about bowling than we did about baseball. How about that? And he was a pretty good baseball player on top of it. And so, yeah, this is kind of the history. And so, yeah, but they were all on the second team. I don't know if I mentioned Archie Ware, Booker McDaniel was there, Herb Sewell. Um, let's see, who else was on there? Jack Matchett was on there. And of course, the main draw they had was Satchel Paige. So Byron Mex Johnson was on there as well. And for a little while, they had George Giles in his final season. And how about this? In his final season, they had John Donaldson as well. And that was the 1938-39 Monarchs second team. So I do have some of those pictures, right? Okay, so let's keep it going. How about January 22nd, 1940? A resolution placing the legislature on record in Albany, New York, is deploring pro baseball's ban on Negroes, calling for Judge Kennesaw Landis, Kennesaw M. Landis, and the National American Leagues to end segregation, and is introduced into the state Senate by Democrat Charles Perry. And that's over in Albany, New York, the state capital. And hey, about this, last year I spoke in Albany and spoke at the local library there. Had a great crowd, and people had never seen me before in Albany. Then I went over to Schenectady where Buck Ewing is buried, and during that same trip, I was able to go up to where Bud Fowler was buried. And of course, I spoke at the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame. Spoke there for an event they had, and you remember oh shucks, I'm trying to think what they called him. He was my warm-up speaker, and he was really good too. I'll come back to it. I have a picture of him in my scrapbook there. So yeah, so I get a chance to get around. So once again, I don't know if anybody's listening from New York, because it would be, what time would it be there? It'd be like 8:45 in New York. So, but yeah, Albany, great city. And then I also spoke in Gloversville as well when I was on that particular trip. All right then. How about this? January 22nd, 1989. We're just dancing right through here. Hall of Fame infielder Willie Wells, who gained fame with the St. Louis Stars, is a shortstop. Played a lot of Winter League baseball. I mention his name all the time. He passed away in Austin, Texas. Another person I interviewed. And how about this? I have at least maybe 10 autographs of Willie Wells. So one of these days, maybe I might put a few of those up on the market. But definitely Willie Wells was a great one. Talked to him often. And back in the day when he first came up from Austin, Kansas City had the great shortstop Dobie Moore. And I remember talking to Coop Papa and Chet Brewer and those guys, asking who was better, Dobie Moore or Willie Wells. And turns out the people from Kansas City thought it was Dobie Moore hands down. The people from St. Louis thought it was Willie Wells hands down. But I can tell you, Dobie Moore had the better arm. They were about equal on glove and about equal on hitting. But when it came to throwing, Dobie Moore could go in that hole, and man, he could come up firing, right? So anyway, that was the passing of Willie Wells. Yeah, great ball player. And said they say there are other Willie Wells here on YouTube. Huh. Okay, well, I'm not sure what that means, but I can tell you this: the Willie Wells I knew passed away in 1989. Okay, and he is a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. So, Willie, okay, I got you. Willie Wells interviews. All right. And what's interesting is I didn't record mine. Mine were just telephone conversations, and uh, and so I was writing notes. I remember Cool Papa, Willie Wells, and Buck O'Neill. I was thinking it was about five ball players that when I was writing my book in 1989, they just told me if you just call me any time of the day, and I might call them and have one question, and then they would answer that question. But those questions uh, basically appear in my book, The Negro Baseball Leagues of Photographic History. And man, it tells a wonderful story. And be honest with you guys, you probably have seen Robert Peterson's Only the Ball is White, and and it'd be interesting to know. And in my estimation, the history, the photographs, and the history that's in that photographic history that I wrote, it's probably been unsurpassed, even after all these years. Came out in 1992. I probably have someone on here listed to the broadcast who's younger than that book. So I don't have a copy in front of me, but I would show the cover. But yeah, I'm quite proud of that work, and it really put me on the map. And at that time, I was still in my 30s, but it's been over 30 years ago, and I have other award-winning books, but I can't forget that one. And some people will always remember me from that book. Okay, so the last one I have today. So we have Willie Wells passing away, and let's see, we have Louis Lofton Santop passing away, or Louis Santop Lofton, how you want to call it, passing away. But also, I met this person who passed away. It was Friday, January 22nd, 2021. Doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but Hank Aaron passed away at age 86. He was 86 years old. He died peacefully in his sleep at his home in Atlanta, Georgia, from natural causes. And if you remember, there was a little controversy because people were scared of taking the COVID shot, and they were, there was all kind of conspiracies out there related to the COVID shot. And Hank Aaron took the shot early, and so there were some people that were trying to say it was the COVID shot. Well, hey, I took the COVID shot, and here I am. It's 2026. I'm still here, and a lot of people I know are still here, and they took the COVID shot as well. And matter of fact, I feel as good now as I did before then. But however, I didn't catch COVID, or when I did catch COVID, I had a very mild symptom. But I did have about 8 friends that were a friend of me from a lifetime that passed away during the from COVID or complications from having the COVID. So yeah, that was pretty serious. And guys, there are people who didn't know a single person who passed away. And I wasn't one of those fortunate people. And one of my favorite nephews passed away. He was 42 years old, a vice principal at a high school. He got COVID and did not make it. So I saw that firsthand. So it was very real to me. And actually, during that time, I even put a Negro League mask and made that available for sale, and just trying to protect people. And it was a great mask. It was a great mask, and I still have a few of those around. And from time to time, I wear them when I go places. But it had the 1942 Kansas City Monarchs on it. If I, when they say, what, I'll post a picture when I put this on YouTube, or when I put it on Twitter or on my Facebook page. I'll set another picture along with me wearing that mask. I haven't posted a picture with me in the mask in a long time. So, guys, I do want to thank you for joining in tonight. If anybody want to mention where you're from, I know Bob is still here, and let's see, who else is here? Let's see, somebody was in here earlier from Minnesota, frigid Minnesota, I might say that. Somebody was talking about they hate the Chicago Bears, And they need to go watch the Bad News Bears. Come on, get a good spirit, guys. Let's have some fun. We don't have to hate anything, but you can love a lot of things. Find something to love, and it will replace your hate. All right. I don't have time for hate because I've been blessed too much. And just the fact that I can come and talk to you about all these people I met and talk to over the telephone, uh, man, I just thank God for it. It's helped me to have a wonderful life. And I was recently looking at this book here, and I just picked up a copy the other day. This is Kazuo Sayama's book on Satchel Paige. Of course, it's all in Japanese. And I looked in here, and not only is my picture on the inside dust jacket, but it's actually on the inside of the book as well. And there was another picture he posted that had my aunt, she'd be my great aunt, and one of my cousins. So this almost like a family keepsake now, right? And if you ever read anything from Japan, see, like we would read our books like this, but their books are the other way around. You read it from this way, going the opposite direction. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for joining me here. We're building a network slowly but surely and getting a lot of people involved with baseball. And like I said, there's lots of places you can go and listen to baseball. Many places you can go and listen to Negro Leagues. You can have all the fun you want. But I guarantee you one thing. There's nobody out there who's interviewed more people from the Negro Leagues than myself. And also other African-American baseball players. I used to work with the Kansas City Royals, and when people would come in, I would go down. I would sit down and talk to Frank Robinson, sit down and talk to Kirby Puckett. Jerry Harrison, we used to have a lot of good conversation. Elrod Hendrick, he used to always come in. I talked to Elrod, but I didn't just talk to black players. I had a chance to talk to all the greats. One of my favorites was Hank Bauer. Hank Bauer, he was living in Kansas City at the time. He come to the park and we talked baseball, and if he hadn't seen me for a while, he would always come up and say, "Are you still collecting that baseball dope?" And that's what he called it, baseball dope. And so Hank Aaron was a good one. Phil Rizzuto, talked to him. Bob Costas would come through there. Bob Euchre. I would just talk to everybody. Len Dawson, who used to be the quarterback for the Chiefs, he was covering, he had a sports, he was a sportscaster with, I'm going to answer that question. He was a sportscaster with the local TV station, so he would come and sit on the bench waiting for his newscast, and I sit down, we talk Kansas City Chiefs football from the 1960s, and I kicked myself in the butt because I never asked him for an autograph. It was just a lot of, if you're around a lot of these guys, it's kind of real professional courtesy. You don't act like the ordinary fan because really they probably get fed up with that. But occasionally I would ask for someone to sign something. And of course, Jerry did we talked about Sam all the time, but I remember Jerry telling me that his brother had a son that was coming up. It was going to be really good. And of course, now we're looking back and those sons did come up, actually more than one. He was talking about one at that time. And so we would talk about his brother. And at that time, Jerry was doing a lot of pinch hitting with the White Sox. So, and then just people would just come through the park. Gene Baker, he was an advanced scout for Pittsburgh. He would come through, talk to him quite a bit. Denny Matthews, the announcer for the Royals, man, we used to eat together all the time. Joe Burke, who was he was like the assistant general manager. He had been the general manager, but John Shearholtz was the general manager at that time. Talked to John Shearholtz, and it's just been wonderful experience because if you love baseball, guys, if you get a chance to see some of these guys that you had baseball cards from. And they would come to Kansas City, maybe an old timers game. Vic Power was another one that I can go on and on and on, man. It's crazy how many ball players I've met through the years. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast because I could keep on talking, and man, I'll just wear you guys out. And then some people want to come back and listen to the broadcast, and they don't want to have to listen for 30 minutes, right? They're, unless you go to sleep with this broadcast, right? So sometimes I try to find a broadcast with no commercials like this, then I'll put it on and I'll go to sleep by it, right? But if it's got commercials, man, I kind of tough to go to sleep by that because then you had to keep on thumbing through the commercials. But right now I have no commercials, right? I don't even think I have a commercial when I come on. I've never seen one. So everybody, thank you very much. If you like what I'm doing here, before you leave, hit that subscription button and let's keep it going. And I'm going to be talking a lot this weekend. Maybe we'll talk about some people I interviewed and just take one player and just really go in depth on that player and my relationship with that player, and maybe tell you some things that maybe you didn't know. All right. So thank you everybody for sticking with me tonight, and we will come back and do this all over again tomorrow. If you're snowed in, guys, you'll have a little more time and a little more time to listen. You got to find something to do, and there's not enough baseball. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave here and go into the room because I had on the baseball channel, but they're just playing reruns. I think they're doing the 100 greatest baseball players who are currently in the game, and I'm watching that. I don't always agree with them, but they're around the game more than me. So, but I will tell you this, probably not this year, but next year, I'm going to fully retire, and I'm thinking about getting a press pass again and going out and interviewing people, writing stories again, and just keeping it going. So let me see if I have anything, and then I'll go. So you must have some great stuff on Vic Power. Yep. Matter of fact, one of the things I remember, Vic Power said that his real name is Vic Peyote, not Vic Power. And let's see, no comments before or after, no commercials before or after. Okay, that's great. That's great. We'll keep it like that, maybe until we get 1,000 subscribers, and then we'll see if things change. All right. So thank you guys, and have a nice evening, and hope everybody stays safe through this weather. And let's look forward to spring training. It's not too far away. I think maybe I need to start doing a spring training countdown, right? Anybody know how many days it is before spring training? Anybody know right off the top of your head? Anybody know? Got any real fans in here that can calculate that real quick? It should be down to I know it's less than 30 days. Well, anyway, I will check that and find out how many days we have to spring training, and maybe we'll do a countdown to spring training. And so when pitchers and catchers report. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and stop right here. So if you're typing, you're probably going to miss me there. So thank you, guys, and I will see you real soon. And keep loving baseball and keep talking baseball, and pick up a good baseball book and read it, guys. Hey, and if you really don't have a good baseball book to read, you can always read one of my books, guys. Go down to the library and tell them, do you have anything by Phil Dixon? If you don't, you need to get something, all right? Okay, I'm just giving you a hard time. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a nice evening. Bye.